Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. It's been a while since I filmed a video. I've just been, just life getting a little busy. But the last video that I did have up was from the Build Your Own Budget Planner Using a Notebook series, and it was setting up April. So I thought coming back on this channel, I would just go ahead and film a recap of how everything went. So I'm going to start here in the calendar. Let's just go ahead and get into it. I'm going to talk about the calendar, my biweekly budget setups, and then the expense trackers. I actually have two different ways I set up the expense tracker because I didn't like one. So I went back to the original way I did it. So I'm going to show you guys all of that. But let's go ahead and just start here in the calendar over here. So the budget overview for April, I did add a couple notes as things happened. So let's start off with the notes section here, because this is where I kind of put in my goals. So big thing for this month was to book our flights and hotel for Hawaii because we needed to use our airline credit before May. I believe May 7th was the expiration. We also booked a hotel as well as the car. We did book through Costco and we got a pretty good deal at a great hotel that we originally booked at in 2020. So I'm really excited about that. We still need to figure out what activities we can book out ahead of time. So we're going to wait a little bit on that. We didn't get to save as much this month. You guys will see later when I do my spending recap for the month. And then we did book my son's Legoland weekend, which I'm so excited for. We're going to be there Friday to Sunday. We're only doing Legoland theme park on Saturday, but we are going to go to San Diego on a Friday. So that's coming up really, really soon. And then we did our, whole Easter thing get together. That was really fun. A lot of activities this month. My son's last football games this month. What else? Just a lot of fun stuff. It was pretty exhausting. I did get sick. Not COVID related, but I did get sick. So pretty bad actually. So I don't get sick often. And usually when I do, it's really bad. But yeah, so what happened this month? What did I do my notes here for? I did do my car registration for sure, because that's one of the things I used to forget before, because it's due on the May 2nd, and I always used to think I could just pay it anytime in May. But for those of you guys who don't follow the due date, I know you'll still have the same sticker for May, but you do get charged a fee if you don't pay it by the actual due date for your car registration. Kid stuff, I did cross out a lot of the things that I was able to pay for and budget for. So yearbook, picture day photos, Easter stuff for the class, and then something unexpected that we got. I still need to look into, but I just wasn't feeling it this month with my budget. So I just kind of was like, I'll do that in May. So we received an unexpected hospital bill from a procedure that was done in 2021 for one of my boys. It was for $1,500, and I think on there it said for anesthesia. I have to double check the claim on that because it's been a long time. So yeah, I just need to double check. We paid so much for that procedure, so I thought we were all done with it. So we paid a lot out of pocket. So yeah, I need to look into that and see what we can do about it. See if our insurance can cover that or something, file a claim or something. Anyway, so that is pretty much it for the budget calendar overview. Okay, so now moving on to our biweekly paycheck budget. This is our biweekly paycheck budget number 1. I know it looks like a hot mess right now. I have a lot of notes in here that I put down, a lot of scratch offs because I thought I was under or over a certain amount, but it turns out I just miscalculated. And yeah, so just looking at this really quickly, like just quick overview, we're pretty much on point with our budget with the bills. Our cushion is never going to have an actual spending amount. That's just meant to be left over. So you guys will see later when I get here to the totals. I have a lot of notes under our variable spending, especially for the ones where we use our sinking fund, because we did use our sinking fund for our vehicles, our vehicle sinking fund to pay for my car registration. And then I also used, I didn't put it on here, but we also used our fund sinking fund as well as my husband's savings also. He also has a personal savings allowance for himself as well. And yeah, so we were over quite a bit, $252 here, which we ended up pretty much dipping into our cushions. So that's what that amount is. But over here on this side, so since we were over also in our variable spending, the original plan was to be able to save $14.95 in our savings, but we only ended up really saving $100, and that went to my son's college savings. And the reason for this was because we decided to work in paying for our Legoland trip into the budget versus saving it, and so that we don't have to take a lot out from our sinking fund. I don't know if that makes sense, but to me, that's what me and my husband did. And we don't have any more debt. And as for our totals, the actual amount of money that we had to budget was $5,744. Total bills was $1,690. Our variable spending was $2,516, which is pretty high because we did pay for our Legoland trip, like I said, like the hotel. And then I think I did budget extra too for, I didn't budget it in, but we did end up spending things for like fun and events, birthdays, Easter, class gifts, and teacher gifts and stuff like that. So that's why our variable spending is pretty high. Savings is really low. Hopefully that gets back up in May. And the total amount that we had left over to to budget in the second paycheck budget is $1,497.81, and $148 of that is in cash. So that is pretty much it for our biweekly paycheck budget number 1. On this side, I try to leave blank so I can have room to write notes, because sometimes I'll have things randomly pop up in my head, budget related, that I just need to just write notes on, or just notes for the next paycheck budget, but I didn't even really write anything on here. And then before I get into the expense tracker, this is for paycheck budget number 1. I also have another one for paycheck budget number 2, but before I go there, I want to just talk about our paycheck budget number 2. So for this paycheck budget, this one is heavier on the bills. It's usually the second paycheck of the month that we are heavier on the bills. So you guys can see there's more lines on here for the bills. But as far as income goes, or money that we need to budget for, we also used our Legoland savings as well. We did get a refund from Amazon, and then my son got a gift of $100, which we ended up budgeting for. I think we ended up adding it to their own budget and the fun budget, because we were using some of that money for some of the boys' activities or sports activities. And then down here with bills, nothing crazy, everything just as usual. We did make sure to budget or leave money in here for the next budget. So 686 is supposed to be left over, and if everything went according to plan, the 686 plus the 300 will get rolled over into the next budget, because we need that money to cover our bills for May. And as far as variable spending goes, we did still spend a lot, because we did spend money on our Legoland trip. So the first one was for our passes. This one is for the hotel, and we are staying 2 nights, and it's going to be our first time staying at an actual Legoland. We're staying at the Legoland Castle Hotel, so it's going to be for my son's 9th birthday, and we're all pretty excited because we've always wanted to stay there. So budget allowed us to be able to stay over there, so I'm really, really grateful and thankful for that. And fun events, we did spend a lot, and again, like I said, this month was jam-packed of activities, family events, sports things, so I don't mind spending that much. We just got to make sure that we budget for them. And I think I need to remember when I'm setting up my sinking funds is to budget more for the fun and events category, maybe for the kids too, because there's a lot of things that we just worked into the budget versus taking it from our sinking fund. So and that kind of takes away from saving for everything else that is a priority for us. So here you guys can see we did not save anything, which we're totally okay with. I'm kind of bummed because I love seeing that we're able to save, but this happens to be the month where we actually end up using the money that we saved for. So don't be afraid to use your sinking fund when it's time to use it. For me, it was kind of hard because, like, man, we saved up all that money, and then, that's what it's there for. It's meant for you to spend it when it's time to spend it. So down here for the totals, I don't know what it is, but I eventually stopped calling. I always felt weird calling this income, because income to me is the money that you earn from working. So I started just putting money to budget, because a lot of times we are pulling money from our savings. So it's not really money that we earned. It's just money that, we put aside from the money that we earned. I don't know if I'm making sense, but I'm calling it money to budget. And so we had $4,892. Our bills was only $553, and I believe that's because for this one we didn't have rent, so it's kind of low. Although this one is heavier on the amount of bills that we have. Usually this one should have had rent on it, but the way the dates worked, we didn't have rent here. We had rent in the other one. So yeah, so that one looks kind of low. Variable spending again is pretty high, $2,875. And total here, so when I actually checked our checking account, we had $1,286, and then cash $178, and we are in balance for this one. And I did write a couple notes on here for myself. It is May 12th that I'm filming this, so I had already done a lot of these. So basketball signups, I did sign up my son for basketball yesterday for the summer. That one was $80. Flag football, we were given a choice to be able to stay on the same team for the summer league, which my son was excited for because he really loved his team. Not everyone is coming back, but most of his teammates are going to be coming back, so we're kind of excited about that. And we did put these on credit cards, so I did make a note to make sure that we pay that off, pay off the statement balance. And then birthdays that are coming up. We just had my husband's 37th birthday celebration. Then my son's is going to be coming up next weekend. And then still need to put together thank you gifts that we made for the weekend, because a lot of my son's cousins are going to be going. So we're kind of excited about that. That he'll have, kids his age that are going to be getting to go on the rides and stuff. So yeah, so that is it for both of the paycheck budgets. Before I go into the overall recap, because that should be pretty quick, I want to talk about the expense trackers, because I tried something new-ish. I tried this before, I think in 2019, on the back of my passion planner. So I tried to break down our variable expenses, because technically, when I'm doing my expense tracking, my bills are already being tracked on here in the actual budget. So really what I need to track is our variable spending to make sure that we are in balance, or that we don't go over, or that we always are aware how much we have left, because we do use our debit card. We very rarely use cash unless we're at the farmer's market or something where we have to use cash. This was just a great way for me to try to, without having to calculate all the time, how much we have left in each budget category for our variable expenses. But it was just so, I didn't like it. I don't know. I think I'm just so used to the old way, which I'll show you in a little bit. But for this one, I had all my variable budget categories broken down this way. So this is all my food, my husband, transportation, and all of that. The problem is sometimes that I don't know if I'll ever have enough lines. And for this month, thankfully I did put more lines for food, because we did spend a lot on takeout this month. Like I said, I wasn't feeling good. I did not want to be in the kitchen at all. So we ended up going over. We went over by $27, which isn't as much as I thought, because I remember thinking like, oh, we were only over $27. But yeah, so luckily we had enough lines. But here down at my husband's allowance, he was getting kind of close to here. And it's just, I like to always also check whether my checking account is in balance with what I have here. And I think I just got so used to that way. This is, I think, a great way if you maybe don't have a lot of expenses. I think this would be a good method to use if you're a debit card user, so that you always know how much you have in each category still to kind of use. But we are a family of 4, so we are heavier on the expenses, especially for this month with a lot of the fun stuff that's happened. And yeah, so how this is set up is I have I'm just going to use food as an example, the amount that we have to budget for food. And as I put in the expenses, I go down and do a running balance of how much I have left. And really, honestly, to be honest, I wasn't tracking my expenses every day like I probably should have. I actually usually don't. I did do it on my spreadsheet, but here I didn't really do it as much. So I was just really copying from my spreadsheet. But really what this was supposed to do, or at least in my head, what it was supposed to do was once I see like a negative or that we're running out, that I need to slow my roll and, stop spending in this category. But what I pay attention to a lot more nowadays is the overall budget that we have. So down here, which we clearly went over at 252. And that's what I like to say my cushion is for those just in cases. Because we did have a $300 cushion. And let me show you, because I don't show you a negative one. So for this one, like, we were barely under. So I like to say that if I see that if I'm over on our food budget, let's say, then that means that in any of our other budgets, we need to make sure we don't spend as much. And usually for miscellaneous, that kind of adds as our cushion as well. So in case we do go over certain other categories, our miscellaneous budget category will act as kind of like a cushion too, because the miscellaneous is really for things that don't belong in any of these categories. So yeah, I didn't really like the way I did this as far as tracking goes. I much prefer this way. So this one is just a running total, kind of like, I guess, how you would use a check register. Because I always like to know how much is in our checking account. I like to put check marks if we're still in balance, because if for some reason we're not, then that's when I go in and review a transaction. And sometimes some expenses will take a while to kind of post on your account, or sometimes with Amazon, it'll take it out and then it'll disappear. I don't know. It'll do, like, there's certain places where the money will just disappear, but sometimes I just write it on here anyways, because I need to make sure, I can't remember everything. And so I just need to make sure that it's accounted for so that we don't spend the money that we think that we have, if that makes sense. So yeah, and I also like color coding this way because I can see from here that it is a lot of food. Food budget category for me is in orange, and there is a lot, as you guys can see. And yeah, so I just much prefer tracking this way. In my spreadsheet though, I do have a section where I get incoming income in a separate area, but here I just put it down according to date. So this is how pretty much it looks. I don't know, I prefer it this way, so I'm going to start doing it going forward in this notebook. Yeah, so I'm going to keep it this way. Anyway, so that is it for this expense tracker, and this is for paycheck budget number 1. And here at the bottom, I just like to write down all the actual amounts that we have, like in our checking account and cash on hand. We only have one checking account, and I do have a place where I keep all of our cash. So yeah, this is what we have going into our May budget, which I still have to do. It is done in my spreadsheet. I just haven't done it on here just yet, which I want to do because I really want to fill up this notebook and see how much of the budgeting spreadsheets I can get into here in a year. Actually, technically from April, because I didn't do January, February, or March. So yeah, so, and on here I have the cash spending. On the other one, I don't know. I think I just made a note of what was cash versus having an actual tracker for cash, which isn't that big a deal because we don't use a lot of cash. So it was just a little bit here. And then over here in our monthly spending recap, it's basically just a combination of paycheck budget number 1 and 2. So up here, I have all the month totals for both paycheck budgets. And so starting in April, we started with $1,770. And this is all of our incoming money, $73.69. All of our expenses, which, oh my God, looks like so much, $76.75. And our difference and leftover amount is $1,464 to get carried over until May, or to May. And then here at the bottom, like I said, it just adds up everything from paycheck budget 1 and 2. And overall on here, it looks like I was off by $55. I don't really, I should have probably put the difference on here, but I didn't. But that's okay. So yeah, I'm going to make sure to do that for next time, just so I know overall if I was over or under. Anyways, so that is pretty much it for this video. If you guys haven't seen any of my other Build Your Own Budget Planner series videos, I'll make sure to put the playlist down below in case you guys want to see that. And as always, you guys, thank you so much for watching, especially for watching till the end. And I will talk to you in my next video. Have a good one, guys. Bye.